of 14, somewhere in there, did Wendi Adelson, actually strike that. I'm going to move on to the coffee shop meeting. You familiar with that?
The June 4th coffee shop?
Yes, sir. June 4th, 2014. Did you have plans prior to that meeting to travel with Wendi Adelson over the time frame in which Dan Markel was ultimately killed?
Yeah, that's right. And on June 4th, I had planned to see Wendi and the kids at her house that night. Middle of the day, she called me to sort of an impromptu meeting at Red Eye over on Thomasville, and she abruptly canceled our trip for reasons that didn't make much sense.
When was the trip scheduled to happen?
The 11th to the 17th.
All right, so you would have returned home actually the day before the murder occurred.
Correct.
Okay, and did she express concern about not being home in time to pick up the children?
Yeah, the reason she canceled the trip was I'm worried we're going to get strict.
Objection to hearsay?
This is statement, there's an exception, Ms. Calhoun.
Goes to motive, Judge.
Overall.
Don't care if they go on a trip or not. All right, sir, so the reason for not going on the trip?
The reason for not going on the trip was, well, it was tied up on a couple of things. First of all the stuff going on with Danny was a constant refrain. But given the stuff going on with Danny, she was concerned that she might not be back in time, even though our flight was to land the day before. And it wasn't, it's so odd to me. It wasn't winter. We're going through it. It's like LA to Atlanta to Tallahassee, leaving in the morning. I didn't see any real reason why that would be a problem.
She would have needed to pick up the kids on July 18th, right?
Yes, she knew that then. Their schedules were planned out for like months.
Okay, so you would have returned on the 17th, and she would have been picking up her children from preschool on the 18th.
Yeah, I think 5 p.m. on the 18th, which is why, I mean, I didn't object. I just said, okay, I didn't make a thing out of it, but it didn't make any sense.
Okay. And that, just for clarification, that conversation occurred on June 4th.
It did.
Okay, when was the next time you saw her after that coffee shop meeting?
Yeah, so that was mid-afternoon, and in the evening, I had plans to go see her and spend time with her and the kids. And then she had contacted me that she wasn't feeling well and I should like rush over there, essentially. She had a stomach problem, so I got there as quickly as I could.
All right, so did you go to her residence that evening?
I did.
And what happened when you got there?
Well, on the way there, I remember contacting her and asking her, do you want me to stop and get some stomach medicine or something like that? And didn't. I believe she told me not to. Once I got there, she hemmed and hawed a little bit, and then eventually I left. Because she was a complete anxious wreck. She didn't have the flu. She didn't have food poisoning. She was just a nervous, anxious wreck, and it was affecting her stomach. So after a little while, I drove to a nearby convenience store to go get her Pepto-Bismol, which I recall because I have a credit card receipt from this random convenience store a few miles from her house.
All right, so she was a nervous wreck that night, and did she tell you what the problem was or not?
No, there's no discernible. I couldn't figure it out. She didn't tell me.
Okay. All right.
We're going to hit the pause button for you and go right back in where we're leaving off. Thank you for being with us on this Tuesday morning. This is Court TV Live. We are your front row seat to justice.
I think my mom thought my life in Tallahassee wasn't good.
Your mom ever called Dan Markel any disparaging names around this time frame?
She did.
Okay, including piece of
Yes.
And you testified on direct that anybody in your family that had anything to do with it should be held responsible. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And that includes you, doesn't it?
Anyone who's responsible.
We are in the state of Florida for the trial of Mama Donna Adelson. Welcome to our second hour of Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. This trial is over the plot to murder Florida State University law professor Dan Markel. He was married to Wendi Adelson, the defendant's daughter. Now, Wendi has never been charged. She testified on Monday. So did Donna Adelson's estranged son, Robert. Right now, we've got Wendi's ex-boyfriend on the stand. His name is Jeffrey Lacasse. He's someone that Wendi dated after she divorced Dan Markel. And remember yesterday, Wendi testified about that television that her brother Charlie gave to her. He joked about a TV would be cheaper than hiring a hitman, and she talks about how the TV was kind of like her alibi for when this crime occurred. Okay, now this is going to be important because we're about to hear Jeffrey Lacasse talk about that TV. Why would the alibi TV be broken? Let's listen.
For a time when you were over at Ms. Adelson's residence and you observed that her TV was broken.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that. When did that occur?
That would have been around the week of June 11th to 18th, somewhere in that time period. I went over Wendy's to spend time with her and the kids, and she asked me to take a look at the television. I turned it on. She said there was a problem with the TV, so I turned it on expecting to see like input 1 flashing, or, you know, the kids pushed the wrong button or whatever. And what I'm looking at when I turn it on is a screen that's been partially shattered, that's been struck by an object. So she had a broken TV.
All right, and did she tell you what happened to the TV, how it got into that?
No, she kind of asked me to look into the TV, as if, you know, she didn't know. I looked around. It was impossible to me that the kids would have done it, but I didn't know about, you know, a better explanation at the time. So I was kind of mystified as to what happened. I mean, it looked like a human being stood, you know, between 5 and 6 foot, something like that. It stood in front of it and hit it. That's what it looked like. But she was asking me.
Okay, so it was like an impact mark, like a round impact with spider webs.
Exactly, and then the pixels are distorted. Most people have probably seen this, so it's, and it wasn't completely shattered. You could sort of see what was going on the television, but it's not a TV anybody would normally watch.
Okay. All right, so let's move away from the TV for now. Was there a date that you had with Wendi Adelson on, gosh, have I gone backwards in time here? It was the day before her birthday. What was the date of that?
We were scheduled to have a date. The day before her birthday is April 21st. We were scheduled to have kind of a special date night that night. Wendi didn't answer her phone, didn't answer texts, and I got so concerned about her. A few hours after the date was supposed to have started, I just drove over there to check on her, knocked on the door for a while. She finally came to the door, appeared to be intoxicated, and not just on alcohol. I mean, bleary-eyed. I'm not sure what substances, but it wasn't good. She wanted me to stay, and I was annoyed enough that I actually just left. I didn't stay the night. So.
Okay, so I kind of got our timeline out of her, but some erratic behavior from her on April 21st and then again on June 4th.
That's right.
Okay. I'm going to approach and show you a text message that was sent on June 28th of 2014. And I've marked it as State's Exhibit 141. Have you ever had a chance to review this text message before?
Yeah, you showed this to me last week.
All right, and this message had never been shown to you before last week, right?
Right.
And it's been testified that this was from Wendi Adelson to her brother, Rob Adelson, but it concerns you.
Yes.
Is there anything factually incorrect in what Wendi Adelson is stating in that text message?
Well, when she says I haven't told mom and dad about me, I met them multiple times. It's impossible that they didn't know we were dating. For example, I was aware that Donna wasn't thrilled that I wasn't Jewish, you know. So that doesn't add it. This doesn't make sense to me in terms of like seeing me for 6 or 7 months. And
so in that text message, she's saying, you know, that you're a secret boyfriend from the parents. Were you a secret boyfriend from the parents at that time?
it's implausible. No, I don't think so.
In fact, you'd met the parents several times.
Yeah, and had conversations with them, limited conversations, but conversations. And the other part that's, I think, really significant is the kids talked about me constantly. I have all kinds of text messages and emails where Wendy's mentioning the kids are down in South Florida talking about me.
Judge, at this time, I'd ask to move into evidence states 141.
Any objection?
Can I see that, please? No objection.
Case 141 is admitted at this time.
Okay, I want to draw your attention next to a disagreement that occurred with Wendi Adelson on June 29th of 2014. Do you recall that incident?
I do.
Okay. And at that time, did you confront Wendi about some suspicions you had that she was seeing other men?
Yeah, that was part of it. That was the main part of the disagreement. I also had spent the last 2 or 3 months concerned that she seemed to be stringing me along.
Where did the fight occur?
The fight occurred in Gainesville.
Okay, and I say fight, it was a verbal disagreement.
Verbal disagreement, and argument's not even the right word. We just exchanged words, yeah.
Okay, and did that exchange of words lead to an awkward drive together back to Tallahassee?
It did, a very awkward drive back to Tallahassee.
And that was?
That's the morning of it's the 29th or 30th. That's the 30th, the morning of the 30th.
Morning of June 30th.
Yes.
Okay. And after you parted ways, once you returned back to Tallahassee on the 30th, what was the status of your relationship over the next couple weeks?
Yeah. Well, we left that, when I left on the 30th, when he was clear that it wasn't over, but it wasn't great that we'd had this exchange either. So over the next couple weeks, we had phone calls, text messages, video chats with the kids. My take was, seems like it's probably going to be okay, but I didn't know for sure. It did string the relationship out another couple weeks when it easily could have ended.
When was the next time you saw her in person?
July 13th.
All right, so about, I guess that's the Sunday before the murder, is that right?
That's correct.
And where did you see her?
We went to dinner and a movie. I picked her up at her house at Aqua Ridge. We went to dinner and a movie and then returned there.
Okay, well, we're on the topic of Aqua Ridge. I'm going to approach and show you what's been introduced in evidence.
I still want to know who would break the alibi TV. How about you? We're going to pause it right here. It's going to get really good with this testimony on the other side of the break. Don't go away.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markel.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind murder trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Before we go back to the Adelson case, I want to show you the trials we're tracking for you right now in Georgia. We've got the closing arguments underway in the speeding trooper homicide trial for defendant A.J. Scott. In California, we've got rapper Cardi B in civil court. She's being accused of assaulting a security guard at a doctor's appointment. Court's going to get underway at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Our cameras are there, and today we could see her called to the stand, so we'll keep you posted on that. And in Florida, we've got the state's case continuing in the murder trial for Mama Donna Adelson. This man, this witness you see right here, Jeffrey Lacasse, used to date Wendi Adelson. He dated her, excuse me, after she had divorced Dan Markel. And he's going to talk about something really, really key when we go in. What Wendi said to him about some talk that her brother had made about looking into someone to take care of Danny. Let's watch.
All right, we'll circle back to Aqua Ridge. So we're on the disagreement, didn't see her for a while, saw her on July 13th. And you were at her residence. What was the plan for that evening?
I didn't know. It was just to spend time together and maybe talk about the relationship some, but we were conversing. We had conversations.
Were the kids there that night?
They were not.
Okay, so it's just the two of you at the residence?
Just the two of us.
All right, and did the subject of relocation come up?
Yes.
In what context?
It came up in the context of whenever Wendi got back from Miami, she was always very upset about the fact that the relocation had previously been denied. I mean, it had been legally denied, but she wasn't over it. It was a constant refrain about how much she hated Tallahassee. So we're talking about the future of our relationship, and I'm asking, are you going to be here? Because with the constant complaining about how hard it was on her parents to transport the kids and just the constant complaining, I was just thinking, is she even going to be here? Is it worth trying to push forward in the relationship? And she said the only way that I'd ever relocate is if something would have to happen to Danny.
Subject to the same ruling at sidebar. The objection is overruled pending the other matters that do have to be addressed. You may continue, Ms. Kaplan.
Please repeat your answer.
Yeah, the only way she'd ever be able to relocate is if something happened to Danny, was the first statement.
Okay, and did she mention anything further about something happening to Danny?
Can I give the context before the next?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was getting a little tired of this whole drama around the relocation. And so I pushed back on Wendi a little bit and said, like, you're gonna have to kind of make your peace with this. You're gonna have to take some responsibility for this. You're linked to Dan Markel for life. Kind of challenged her a little bit. And she said, well, can I tell you something confidentially? And I said, sure. And she said, last summer.
I'm going to repeat the same objection. I understand the court's ruling.
Same ruling remains. The objection is overruled. You may continue with your answer.
Can I tell you something in confidence?
Yeah, can I tell you something? After I challenge her, can I tell you something in confidence? Sure. Well, last summer, my brother looked into all options possible to take care of the Danny Markel problem, including hiring a hitman, and it would cost about $15,000.
Okay, and when she referred to her brother, she's got two of those, right?
She said Charlie.
Okay. And when she said Charlie looked into hiring a hitman, are you familiar with Charlie's joke? I looked into hiring a hitman, but got you a TV as a divorce present because it was cheaper?
Yeah, Wendi told me that joke a couple of times. This was not that joke.
Okay, so this was something different.
Yeah, the joke was said with levity. It's a dark joke, but this I found chilling. I found disturbing. It made my stomach flip. It kind of took me aback. It was, she was dead serious when she said this, and she'd asked to tell me in confidence, which you don't do before you tell a joke.
Okay. So I want to take you to the next day then. So we're at July 14th, the Monday before the murder.
Yes.
Did you see Wendi Adelson on that date?
Yes. We had contact throughout the day trying to arrange some kind of date. It kind of ebbed and flowed. But she was real enthusiastic about seeing me at one point, and then like mid-afternoon, let's just meet at yoga is what was decided. So we went to yoga.
Okay, what happened after yoga?
Well, I was wondering why we were at yoga, because when he was being very strange, I felt like the relationship was over. She wasn't feeling well. I'm not a big yoga guy, so I didn't understand why we were at yoga for like 80 minutes, stretching. But then when we left yoga, we barely spoke, and I was just getting a vibe that this is over. Tried to talk about the relationship. didn't go very well. It was pretty clear to me. My internal thoughts were like, well, this is over. And she didn't want to spend time with me the rest of the week, so I just put my hands up like this. I remember this vividly, and just turned around and walked away.
Where were you when that was happening?
We're in the parking lot of Journey's Yoga over by Winn-Dixie.
Okay, so you have your two respective vehicles there, and
Yes.
you're parting ways.
Yes.
Okay, what happens as you walk away?
Get about 10, 15 feet away from her, and she calls after me. I turn around, and she had a series of detailed questions about what I would be doing on Friday. I had a trip to Tennessee planned, and she wanted to know if I was going on that trip, and she wanted to know what route I would be taking. And if I didn't go on the trip, why wouldn't I go on the trip? And I answered the questions as best I could, but I was confused why, at that moment, she wanted to know the details of what I was doing on Friday when she expressly didn't want to spend time with me on Friday.
Okay, and we now know that Dan Markel was murdered on Friday.
Yes.
Okay? If you had taken the trip as planned, which is as you reported to Wendi that day, what would your route have been?
I would have left my house at about 11 a.m., which Wendi knew. I'd related my plan to her earlier in the relationship. Needed to get to Atlanta for dinner and was worried about traffic and stuff like that. So I would have left at 11, and I would have driven down. I would have got to Capitol Circle in Thomasville, which is close enough to Danny's house that it kind of gave me the creeps. It was kind of a weird, yeah.
Okay, so physically, you're saying you might have been sort of consistent with how the killers fled town.
Yeah.
Okay, and after this yoga date and the discussion of your travel plans, did you get an email from Wendi?
I did.
I'm going to publish what's been introduced into evidence as states 64 GG. Is this the email she sent you after the yoga date?
Yes.
All right, so is she breaking up with you? Is that clear?
No, she's asking, well, I considered based on our interaction, I thought this is over. I had told Wendi if she wanted to break up with me, she doesn't like confrontation, just send me an email or text. She sends me this, which strings everything out for another week.